What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, a proud partner of the Eurostep Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. I am your host, Numak, and, you know, it's fitting that it was snowing during tonight's Thursday night's Packers game against the Titans. Because as many of you Wisconsin and faraway Packers listeners and fans might know, the first of many rules when you're driving in the snow is not to overcorrect. The Packers overcorrected their season driving their 1973 Ford Pinto in this loss to the Titans. They were skidding all over the place in this icy weather against the Lions. 15-9 they lose. Overcorrected, looked good for a hot second against the Dallas Cowboys. Spun the wheel the entire other way and drove their flaming car of garbage over the guardrails into the ravine that is the top 10 picks of the 2023 NFL Draft with the 27-17 loss to the Tennessee Titans. And joining me to talk about that embarrassing showcase of football game is Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing well. And, old lang syne. Let's sing it. This is New Year. We're done. This year is over
It's over,
as far
dude.
as competing.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever is
For
left is
something
left.
meaningful, yeah.
Yes.
They'll compete and get our hopes up every game for
The
no
only-
stupid reason.
Dare I say the only thing that's meaningful awaits them in April or
Yeah,
early May.
yeah, absolutely. That's without a doubt 100%. So, as we mentioned, 27-17, Packers get absolutely embarrassed, out-efforted, just just beat handedly. Got the bricks beaten off them by the Tennessee Titans, who now sit at 7-3 as the Packers sit at 4-7, all but ending their playoff hopes with their upcoming schedule. Um, just general stats we'll go into right away. We'll talk about just the individual performances a little bit, and then we'll get into some doom. Uh, Packers side, Aaron Rodgers, just not a good game. 24-39, balls thrown low, high, not on target, all game long. 2 touchdowns, both to Himothy, Christian Watson, who is one of the only bright spots of this team right now. Christian Watson, 4 catches, 6 targets, 48 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the one on the free play, as well as the one slanting across the middle, which I don't know if you know, Jordan. I'll ask you. Do you know of a podcast that has suggested like running Christian Watson down the field sort of across the middle to get him touches and touchdowns, or should we try and find somewhere else?
I think it's called Talk of the Tundra.
Hmm. Must be a good podcast.
Yeah.
Weird. Uh, they went away from the running game again. 12 carries for 40 yards for AJ. Or I'm all sorts of disconnected right now. 12 carries, 40 yards for Aaron Jones. Albeit it was tough to get going early because they couldn't have the ball for more than 3-4 plays. But man, I don't know what happened between Sunday and Thursday.
Mike Vrabel, the Titans, who are I think you even said it when we previewed the game. Um Titans of could be either looked at as like the best bad team or a bad team or a good team. Wait, best bad team or a good team that just plays bad.
Yeah,
I'm mixing up whatever
yeah.
this is.
They haven't played a lot of good teams,
Yes,
Packers
they all
included.
put Packers included, as we all suspected and had plenty of evidence towards. But
Yeah.
tonight was just further confirmation and probably the final death knell.
Yep. Nail in the coffin for the season for sure.
Mhm.
Randall Cobb led the team in receiving. 6 targets, 6 catches, 73 yards. Really great to have him back. Um, he it was really just a pleasure watching
Also
him catch the
returned a
football
punt
and did
to
well.
start the game, which was kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I don't think they should be putting him back out there just because he is so old. I shouldn't say so old, like he's ancient or something. He's 32, but which like if you'd have told me he's 32, I would have told me you're lying. I would have thought he's like 35 or 36, but regardless, Keyshawn Nixon continued returning punts the rest of the game, which they should just keep doing. But Other than that, Al Lazard, 5 catches, 11 targets. He stinks. We'll get into him later.
How many drops? Because they
Six.
had been two.
Oh, sorry, no, that's targets. I counted at least 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Like just anecdotally sitting there, like, wow, Lazard drops that ball. Like that's just stupid. We'll get into Lazard later. I have issues with that on Lazard. Um, defense, just general stats. Quay Walker had a nice game. Uh, 12 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, and a half a sack. Preston Smith had a nice game. He had a sack and a half. Uh, man, I that's really all that's to be said on that side of the ball.
let me throw out a couple more.
You can go ahead.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. This somehow does not seem right to me, but Titans had apparently 88 yards of rushing,
Yeah, that's right.
2.8 yards per rush.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later with Joe
Are you
Barry's.
ready? Are you ready for the hammer?
I'm ready for the hammer. I'm a
320 passing yards.
man.
24 for 29.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill was. Actually, that's probably including Derrick Henry because of his jump pass. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill was 22 of 27. Derrick Henry was 2 of 2 because I forgot that he threw another pass.
You know what
Yeah.
you know what I just realized? That sacked yardage comes off of the total yards of the
Yes.
passing game.
Yeah.
So he actually had 330. Ryan Tannehill had 333 yards passing,
Yeah.
and then like 3 sacks for 17 yards. But you know the most embarrassing thing I just realized? Derrick Henry had a 118.8 rating on 2 catches for 4 yards on touchdown, better than Rodgers at 94.7. You got outrated by running back. But yeah, Derrick
Your
Henry.
Green Bay Packers of 2022.
They they ran the ball more than they rushed the ball, or than they passed the ball. The Titans did. Derrick Henry, 28 carries, 87 yards, and a touchdown. Like that is good for keeping Derrick Henry in check. The other parts of the defense were just stunk. Traylon Burks, 7 catches, 8 targets, 111 yards. 51 of those coming on an absolute torch of Jair Alexander at the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. Robert Woods, who's been somewhat of a non-factor almost all year, hasn't had a game like this. 6 or 7, 69 yards, and then just a bunch of players with 25 plus passing yards or receiving yards throughout it. Jeffrey Simmons, good at football. Uh, 4 tackles, 1 sack. Like, and the sack came at the most important time when Rodgers couldn't get rid of the ball. Uh, that's really all I got. Really all I got. Pay O'Donnell had a couple of flubs tonight punting. Just the we fence is more like a Lee fence. Like it's all L's, no W's in this team. It's just bad. So I broached you pre-pod, Jordan. I'll give you a chance to change your answer if you'd like. What side of the ball do you want to start with first? Because it was ugly all around.
Let's go offense because I feel like there's a lot more touch points of frustration.
Yeah.
Even if they're very familiar. Same with defense, but I think we prognosticated how things could go poorly pretty well on our preview pod.
Yeah, I'd say we did a pretty good job of saying how that would go. We're not going to go through the drives because I don't want to really spiral. But to sum up the game plan, we knew coming in that the Titans defense was really good in the run game. Like we talked about it pre-pod or pre-game, such on our preview pod, that getting the run game going was going to be hard because they were so good at it, like at defending the run. But you had to try, right? Well, they really had a trouble time trying when their first 2 plays were up the middle with Aaron Jones for -1 yard, and then off the end with Aaron Jones for 5 yards, incomplete pass, 3-and-out. And then from there, they really just never really got it going again. Rodgers threw it how many times? Too many is the answer. 39. Like I will give them the benefit of the doubt, the benefit of the doubt because they didn't touch the ball for more than 5 plays in the entire second quarter.
Entire second quarter, I believe they had 2 minutes of time to possession. So I mean that equals out to 5 plays.
Right,
If you know.
right. So like it's hard to get an offense going at that point, but they had an entire half of football to try to keep that going and have a complementary offense like they did last week and just didn't.
On top of that, too, I think that stat that I mentioned last week, they gave up another touchdown under 2 minutes in that first half that widened the gap even more. So
Yep.
that's even it's not just the fact that they're not touching the ball.
Right.
They don't finish quarters.
Nope.
They widen the lead. Um, with Tennessee putting together like it wasn't like that. That's the crazy thing about this is that the drive right before it, Tennessee had. I guess this is going into defense,
If you want, you
but it
could.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Just keep
But
put a feather on that. We'll
okay,
come
yeah.
back to it.
Um, offense, yeah. I mean, that's the problem is that they are virtually non-existent and don't do much of anything in the second quarter because they're just not on the field.
Nope.
Therefore, you come out of halftime, adjust your game plan, see what you're going to do. And there were some things to like about what they were doing offensively in terms of the passing game. They were finding cracks in like the flats where like Tunney was doing damage, Jones was doing damage, Lazard, like they just did like those little like kind of like chippy away. But then when you're looking for those hammer plays, Christian Watson, I mean, yeah, another terrific game. Play design on that second touchdown was fantastic. Um, but there's outside maybe Cobb, I think was another like very productive guy that was, finding open field underneath routes or crossing routes and stuff like that. But as the second half wore on and the urgency was ramping up, Aaron Rodgers had his worst throws of the game, easily back-to-back third downs on back-to-back drives. It was maddening. It's maddening where it's like these are the holes that you keep falling into. And I mean, I've seen some of the post game comments that Matt LaFleur is already making.
Oh God, I don't even want to read them.
And he was basically saying this is not what we were Sunday. And of course, my response would be, well, this is what you've been all season.
Right.
Sunday was always the outlier. It's just a matter of could you sustain much of anything, and there were some things that they sustained, specifically Christian Watson looking absolutely great again. But
right,
that's where it's like the balance of their offense, just like it totally flipped when again you had 5 plays of meaningful football in the second quarter.
Right. It's ridiculous. And yeah, I'm not going to dive into LaFleur comments right now because I'll start yelling. I couldn't. I had to bite my tongue while you were talking because you were saying that like there was so many like opportunities. They were finding stuff in the flat. They were finding stuff like cracks the defense. Like the play design on Watson's second touchdown was fantastic, and they just don't do it more than like 2-3 times in a game. They just don't, and it's so frustrating. And when they do, they pass it to Al Lazard, who stinks. I'm going. This is my Al Lazard tangent.
Let it out.
I am so over seeing Al Lazard play football for this football team. I respect his positives. He's a good run blocker on the outside to allow Jones and Dillon to get outside when they do. Other than that, he's inconsistent at best. And at this point, it's just frustrating to watch the ball get thrown to him because he'll drop a pass or like have a low effort play like he did a bunch this game, and he'll make a great catch like he did last week against the Cowboys in overtime, where he caught it across the middle, ran for 35 yards, and then put him in field goal position to win the game. Like it's even more maddening than MVS was the last year because at least with MVS you knew that as part of his game. He was going to either run straight line and catch the ball for a touchdown or run a straight line and not catch the ball.
Boom
Like
or
it
bust.
was boom or bust. You knew that's what he was for. Al Lazard is supposed to be the number one option on this team. And praise Brian Gutekunst for not giving in to Lazard and his agents this offseason for paying him a big contract. That would have been catastrophic. Like,
Absolutely.
and like at the end of the season, like so long. Thanks for your services, Al Lazard. You've been a part of a lot of great moments and you do a lot of good things. I don't need to see you anymore because if you want anything, what you think you're going to want, you don't deserve it. Like from the Packers at least after this season, because like I think we said what he had 5 catches for 11 yards or 5 catches on 11 targets. We talked about at least 3, 4 of those were drops, and
Yes.
later in the game he just had such low effort plays. He gets like the entire team gets so like down vibe wise, and you could tell on that last catch that ended up being incomplete. He caught it, went to go out of bounds, and got it punched out, but he wasn't like doing anything with purpose. On the fourth down play on one of the last few drives, Rogers wanted to keep running, and Alazar kind of like jogged and looked, turned around, and threw his hands up.
It's
It's like,
fourth down. That was
yeah,
a fourth
like
down play too.
oh my god, and he just drops so many like easy passes that sure he makes up for it the next play when he catches like the one for the 10 yards because Rogers keeps going to him. But why not just make the catch on the first time, right? Like it really shouldn't be that difficult and be too much to ask of your wide receiver one or your supposed wide receiver one to make the catch the first time, so that you can have momentum going forward. Like just because you make it up on the next play doesn't mean that that first play is negated out. Like it's still a stunter in momentum, and it's just maddening. And I've seen enough of how Watson and Dobbs can block so far this year that I'm pretty sure we can get away with not having Alazard on the outside next year to give Aaron Jones some room out there if he wants to run out there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's very much tied to Rodgers, but even so, I don't. It's funny. I think I went into this year be like, yeah, like that's kind of a good or bold play by Lazard in that he knew that his leverage was highest
Mm-hmm.
it could ever be. And if you're an NFL GM and look at him as like a free agent wide receiver to be, you're obviously looking at like, okay, he's definitely not a number one. Is he number
Right.
two? Is he a slot guy? He doesn't separate well to be a slot guy unless if you have, I mean, you have to have like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle
Right.
on the outside the hash marks to be like, okay, we'll have like a guy like Alan Lazard who can do work underneath.
Yep.
But everything is so situation dependent with him. And like this is just who he's been. Like I think we really got caught up. We when he first emerged as like again practice squad guy, Jaguars gets cut, picked up, and it was just some guy that could do damage next to Devontae when they just needed helping with a wide receiver. And he did well. He played his role. He did the little things that LaFleur asked him, and that kept him on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's a role for he's going to be in the NFL for a while. As long as he stays healthy, he's a perfectly serviceable role player if
Right.
you have the right situation around him. This year, where you are dependent on him to be 80 catches in the season, hopefully a downfield threat, your all-purpose threat kind of,
Mm-hmm.
regardless, he's not that guy. And
You're not that guy, pal.
no, he's he's been bothered by injury every year, pretty much. He has big games, but it's inconsistency. It's almost his inconsistencies have grown the longer his time with the Packers has gone on, which is kind of interesting that way.
Yep.
I wouldn't say it's stagnant.
Yep.
Actually, no, I would. I would say it's grown stagnant.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It is a very it's just it looks very like a dead end. And when you see like the season overall, there's nothing to be excited about like towards his future
Oh
in
God,
Green
no.
Bay specifically.
No, there's nothing to point to development. Like he can't catch contested balls. Like, and if he does, it's rare. Like he had one catch where Rodgers put it right in his basket and he caught it. And I was like, wow, I can't believe he caught that. But he has so many catches where it's just like a contested catch and he gets broken up or can't go to the ground with it. And so to continue with the wide receiver talk, like I don't need Lazard or Watkins back next year. Like Watkins, I think is on a 1 year deal anyways. I think they're both like free of like the Packers are free of both of them regardless. And so like I don't even want to make an effort to bring them back unless it's for like literally vet min for Lazard. And even then, I don't think I want to just because it's giving taking passes away from Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. Like I am so okay bringing back Dobbs, Watson, obviously, and then Cobb and run with Samari Toure right next year. Like that just be your four wide receivers because Cobb is still dynamic over the middle, and as we proved tonight, like he's had a good year. Um, I'm looking now. He has uh 18 receptions for 250 yards. Like that's 14 yards a catch. Like he's a dynamic receiver still at 32. So keep him around if he wants to be around. Jordan, you're muted if you're trying to talk. Um,
He missed 4 or 5 weeks.
yep, yeah. So, uh, yeah, it's insane. Like he's just a good player still, and he should still be with the Packers going forward if he wants to be. But I don't need Alan Lazard. I don't need Sammy Watkins. Run with the three receivers and Randall Cobb that have given you the most production this year. Like Alan Lazard has been fine. He's has 50, 33 receptions for 472 yards and 5 touchdowns. Christian Watson matched his touchdown mark in 2 games. No, I'm sorry. He passed him. Christian Watson has 6 touchdowns on the year. He has that one rushing touchdown.
In 3 days.
Right. Like, he just makes better plays. And Samari Toure runs the scramble drill really well that we've seen that Rodgers likes to play. And going into Rodgers in a minute, if we're stuck with Rodgers for the next 4 years, might as well find and have receivers that know how to run the scramble drill if Rodgers wants to do it, even though he's not very good at the scramble drill anymore. So, yeah, to bring this round to end the receiver talk, give me Romeo Dobbs, who is next Hall of Fame Jerry Rice. Give me Christian Watson, who is a different, great trajectory player. Samari Toure has shown flashes in a pan of making effort plays. Very Jeff Janis esque is how I'll put it.
Mm,
Like,
same number.
yes. So why not just let Samari Toure kind of blossom into what we thought Jeff Janis was trying to do every single year? Because Samari Toure runs good routes. He puts his foot in the ground and makes cuts. They all run good routes. Unlike Al Lazard, who has all fucking year rounded out his routes and not shown effort on these plays. Like, just run with the young guys. And honestly, I wouldn't be upset if they just ran with the young guys the rest of the year once they're all healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where the excitement lies.
Yeah, sadly. Moving on to our quarterback. I have exactly no reason to really see Rodgers again this year. If we're trying to think towards the future, I why not just let him get thumb surgery, be out the rest of the year, and then actually attend OTAs in May next year and work with these receivers to build chemistry. Let's see if the Packers have in Jordan Love, and if they have something they like over the next 7 games, or yeah, no, so sorry, 6 games. See if they can either trade him for picks or just trade Rodgers for a song and let it go because man, he reverted back to what he's been all year long. He was inaccurate and not he was indecisive in the pocket. Like he took a sack at the worst time in the game.
That was
Like
the only sack that he took, right?
yeah, and he just held it. Like given it was partially a coverage sack, but he didn't even move in the pocket. Like Rodgers of old, and maybe just because he's now old, this doesn't get out of the pocket anymore. They ran a play action tonight that had him rolled out into the
Or
roll
just
out, and it was
dump it out.
right. Just throw it away. Do something. Make a decision. Don't get sacked for 13 yards when it's third and or second and 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I mean, this is probably the best pass blocking game the Packers have had all year,
Yeah.
easily against the Titans defense that we
Besides
very
last year they
critical.
played well last week too. The line did.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think Rodgers got sacked.
Is that true? I thought he got sacked.
I'm looking
Yeah, the
now.
sack fumble.
That's right. That he got sacked twice last week. My apologies.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I think this is probably as clean as it could have been.
So yeah,
Would you like some Aaron Rodgers quotes? Because I'm seeing these.
go for it, dog. Ruin my night.
I got to throw the ball better than I did tonight.
No shit. God, smart guy Aaron
um,
Rodgers really knows how to hammer home the good quotes.
he's a philosopher, I've been told. That's from Rob Domonsky. Another one. If we play up to our potential, we can win our last 6 games. He added that it goes for him too.
I want what he's smoking.
Yeah.
Rogers,
Ayahuasca?
Rogers, pass it over here, bud. Pass the blunt, cause, buddy, I don't know where you think that potential is from you or everybody else, cause we haven't seen it all year.
The word potential is very misleading
It is,
in this situation.
yeah. The main issue is that in the perfect utopian world that is the Packers offense, sure, they could go and win the last 6 games to have a chance at the playoffs. But we haven't seen it all year for a sustained amount of time. We saw it once against the Bears, barely. They almost got come back on. The Bears almost came back and won in that game, despite the score. And last week they needed to go to overtime, and the last drive sucked. We haven't been able to see it for more than a half. They haven't played like 4 good quarters this entire effing year. The whole potential thing is lip service.
Yeah, I mean, this is who you are.
Yeah.
This team has time and time again. Um, they're just not talented. They've been ravaged by injury.
I'm gonna
No
stop you.
question.
I'm gonna stop you. I disagree that they're not talented. I think they are a talented team that is not being coached as a team. Like they have talent on defense. I believe that. And they have developing talent on offense, which is why the offense looks as bad as it does because Rodgers has been playing poorly and they are still don't have the timing right in the places they need to have the timing right. Like Aaron Jones is talented. Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs are talented. Like they have talent, but they're not executing on offense with their main players being Rodgers and Lazard, which is like a lot of their offense. And we'll get to the defense in a minute. But yeah, I think they have talent. They just don't want to showcase it consistently.
Yes, I mean it's a very nuanced way of looking at it because I think the foundation of the team, which is always a strong offensive line where you can play a balanced game, especially under LaFleur more than anything. The line has been a problem at times, or not at times, but for multiple games. Tonight was, I would say, the outlier in that way. But Rodgers has shown his age, hasn't been able to do the same things that he's been able to do, whether that's with Devontae or not, or all the injuries that they've had. The talent, yeah, the one for sure that we can't disagree on is Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. And AJ Dillon's been more of a victim of seeing a lot of bodies in the box. Aaron Jones has been a victim of Matt LaFleur just forgetting that he's on the bench or
right
calling plays for him or stuff like that. That's just like, again, we could keep complaining about it, but this is time. They've established this as the the go-to when things are going rough, that they're just gonna forget Aaron Jones exists.
Yeah, like I feel so bad for him because running backs in this league don't have like a sustained shelf life. They just don't,
No.
unfortunately, because that's just how running backs have been forever. It's a common trope that you don't pick running backs after they turn 27. He's about to turn 28. Like, I'm pretty sure he has 2 years left on this contract. Um, before he's a free agent, and he's going to have a very successful career. That's without a doubt not like you can't debate that. But um, it's just sucks that he can't be utilized in this part of his career to the potential that he could be utilized as the mainstay of an offense. Well, when they use him right, he's a top 5 running back in the league. It's what
Yes.
there's just no question, and it's got to be so frustrating from him as a from a running back and like player standpoint because he knows how good he is and he knows that he can do it in weeks they give him an opportunity to, and then some weeks that is don't give him the opportunity to. Yeah, he is signed with the Packers through the his 38th season, so 2 years after this.
Yeah.
But all right, man. I think that's enough on the offense. We should focus on the defense.
Yes.
Unfocused all effing night. The effort wasn't there, and I'm just so sick of Joe Barry. Like I feel like I've said this sentence so many times that I just don't want Joe Barry as a defensive coordinator anymore. But we talked about it in the pregame pod. The Packers overcommitted to the run and stopping Derrick Henry. Like if
Which they
you're
did.
yeah, like
I don't know if "did" is the right word.
I think it is because 28 carries is a hell of a lot of amount of carries, and to keep him under 100 at that point is pretty good, I'd say. You look like you
I
want to
don't
disagree.
disagree. I don't disagree because if you look at, again, not even just the raw numbers, 2.8 yards per rush against Derrick Henry is very good. You're trying to limit him just running through your defense.
Yep.
Um, I think probably the word is overcommitted
Yes.
because then it's leaving you susceptible to playing as
To to,
soft
to
as they
making
do.
Ryan Tannehill look like prime Dan Marino. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what happens. For context, I'm the we can take this stat how you will. The Packers let Derrick Henry run the ball for 28 times for 87 yards, I think is what we said. The other times that Derrick Henry this season has run for 28 times or more was 28 against the Commanders, 30 against the Colts, and 32 against the Texans. In those games, he had 102 yards, 128 yards, and 219 yards. And with 2 touchdowns, 0 touchdowns, and 2 touchdowns. So, like, I am comfortable with how they attacked the run game. The problem is like you said, Jordan, they overcommitted to it and then just let Ryan Tannehill do whatever they want. Which I don't know how that even happens because like Jair looked unfocused all night long.
Yeah, he was practically invisible.
He was getting torched, especially like we said it earlier on that fourth or the fourth quarter, the play right before the 2 minute warning. Kirk Herbstreit said it best. The Titans caught Jair sleeping because what are they gonna do? They're gonna throw it on with 5 seconds till the second to the 2 minute warning in a 10 point game. Like, why would they throw it? He just got caught lacking, and Traylon Burks, a rookie, blew right past him, made him look foolish for 51 yards. And Razul, like, I don't know if he's hurt or what in the world was in his mind tonight, but he was getting outrun everywhere. Like he was, I can't wait to see what his stats were for when Tannehill threw at him, because I think he gave up like
Oh,
legitimately 6, 7 catches, all in
was
crucial situations
was
for a significant amount of yards, no less than 50, no less than 50.
Ryan Tannehill had the highest completion percentage of a quarterback that the Packers have faced this year, which is not surprising.
No, it's not.
Second would be Daniel Jones.
Yeah, it was like what 22 for 27. That's a fantastic game. Like
Nearly
127.
80%.
Yeah, that's insane. Like they let him have whatever he wanted. And again, 50% of that is Joe Barry being incapable of planning a defensive scheme for both facets of an offense. He cannot stop a run and a pass. He cannot stop the pass without letting the run game go off. Run game's been going off all year long. Like we know this. They're not a good like run stopping team. But like last week, the run game was like a big part of the Cowboys offense. And I'm not gonna say they stopped Tony Pollard when he went 20 carries, 100 yards, and touchdown, but they didn't stop like the uh, passing game so much either. Besides the 2 interceptions that Rudy Ford had to give them an extra possession. Like all those 2 interceptions, they get steamrolled last week, and so it's just half on Joe Barry for not being able to do that, but other half the defense. There was just no effort tonight. I'm not going to chalk up to a short week because we just saw a Titans team also on a short week have all of the effort.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, man. It's the defense was supposed to be this big dog defense and really be the tone setter for this team, and they just aren't.
I mean, it's set a tone.
Yeah, it's the brown noise from South Park. The brown note.
I also I think Al Michaels even mentioned it during the game. I forget what play. Maybe I wrote this down. Damn it. No, I did not. It was some coverage mishap on a big play that the Titans had. Titans had five. I'm going to count 5 explosive plays. Plays of 20 or more yards. There was one play that was 19, but
Right.
Let's round up.
Like it all matters the same.
Yeah. But Al Michaels mentioned something about like it was probably Douglas. No, it was Savage. It was Savage. Savage lets up this big play, and he was confused whether should be in zone or man. And that was an early, definitely in the Vikings game. Probably not in the Bears game because they only threw 11 times. But that is stuff that we see, like how that is fundamental communication. It's not about strategy at that point.
Yep.
How does your secondary not know what coverage you're in?
Right.
You know, like that's
coaching.
Damning.
That's coaching.
That's coaching, and this is repeatedly happening.
Yeah. I really want to just lean into being a bad team and just fire him right now. Like punt the season. Because dude, we're gonna get steamrolled next week in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That might be.
It's on Sunday night, right?
Yep, sure is. You know that picture from like 2011 when the Packers beat the Titans like 48-7 or something?
Wipe the floor.
And there's a Titans fan in the Christmas hat, the Santa Claus hat with just his head in his hands. He looks real sad. That's gonna be all of Packers Nation next week. But instead of wearing like Santa gear, it's just gonna be a dude in a big Carhartt jacket looking like a turkey.
Yeah. With a cheese head that's like
a big brown fabric coat. No free ads.
The rawhide.
Yeah, it's just bad. Like I'm so disappointed and frustrated with Jair. Like he's supposed to be the captain of this defense, and he doesn't actually carry himself as a captain.
They stripped him of his captaincy too.
When was that? I didn't see that.
Before the start of the year.
Jair?
Yes.
I did not know that. That tracks just fine. Which, you know what?
Still,
I remember seeing a tweet about this now. You're right. That there wasn't like 4 definitive captains of this team. Like the team was really spread out as to who the captains would be, and that is an issue. When you don't have announced leadership in your in your locker room, there's an issue there. When it's like, the Devondre, is it Razul, is it Jair, is it Rodgers, is it Aaron Jones, is it Bakhtiari? Like, obviously it's not Bakhtiari. We don't know if he played this year, but you get the point. Like, there should be voices that project leadership into the locker room and then have that, and it's showcasing with how they're playing on defense.
For context, from Rob Domofsky again of ESPN, this is September 9th, 2022. So this is going into the first game of the year. Jair Alexander, who was a team captain last year, on if he took it personal that he wasn't voted as one of the 6 captains this year. Yeah, I did.
Yep.
He didn't elaborate on why, but added, happy for the guys who were voted captains, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that I remember that tweet. I remember the vibes were horrendous at that point. Yeah, man. Like, but to continue, like the definitive moment of this, not even the fourth quarter play before the 2-minute warning, is their goal to go. The Titans are in the second quarter. I think this is the Derrick Henry touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Jair made the biggest business decision he'd ever made his entire career. What happened to hitting hard and tackling and trying to prevent any sort of success from for the offensive standpoint? He comes in from his corner slot and is could attempt to tackle Derrick Henry. Given disclaimer, it's fucking hard to tackle Derrick Henry. Man is a brick shithouse. Like, it's 6'3", 250 pure muscle is hard to tackle, especially when he's got momentum going. But at least make an effort, my guy. He pulls up from Derrick Henry and like swipes at the ball the most lazily swipe I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, if you're gonna be out there to try and stop like a touchdown from being scored in a close game at that point, why not just sit on the bench if you're gonna do that? Like, get somebody in there that'll at least try and tackle him. Like, throw your body at him, wrap him up, do something, punch at the ball. Like, yeah, you're coming in at a bad angle where you're not going to stand him up or anything, but at least for a second you might get him to slow down so someone else can come and do team tackling. Like, and he just did it. He just said, "Yep, all right, you're having a have a touchdown. You're good. I'll go jog back." That's what he did. It's just disappointing, man.
Does a little penguin waddle and just gets out of there.
Pretty much. Yeah. He got too smalled by Treylon Burks. I loved Treylon Burks out of the draft. This is not a Treylon Burks sucks agenda. But when a rookie like does that to you and drags you for 10 yards and then gets up and puts his hand down and says too small, that's a sign.
That's a technical foul in the NBA.
Don't even get me started on that. But yeah, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing is what it is. Like, and we're seeing players like deeper in the roster play better than these people, like these players. Like,
Rudy Ford had a tough night.
He had a tough night, but like
the effort's at least there.
Yeah, the effort's there. If there's go ahead.
No, I was just. I mean, it's a very quick point. You may not be the most gifted player in the world. You may be Jair Alexander, who can shut down even the best wide receivers in the league. He's proven that. Last year. Why am I losing a point? Oh, you maybe as gifted as someone as like Jair Alexander or even Rasul Douglas, who, journeyman cornerback, didn't find the right fit, lightning in a bottle, comes to Green Bay, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Rudy Ford is like that kind of more in that ilk. Obviously, he had the game of his life last week, right, 3 days ago. But I would still see him make effort plays. Yeah, he's probably missing some guys. That happens defensively. Mm-hmm. It's bound to happen. Mm-hmm. But when everybody's missing someone, it doesn't really reflect on one person. It reflects on the whole unit. It reflects on the coaching staff. It reflects on the defensive side of the coaching staff. So, yeah.
No, all that being said, if you're going to be Rudy Ford or Keyshawn Nixon or name a third or fourth string player in the secondary or in the defense,
or Isaiah McDuffie,
if you're out there playing with effort, you have an opportunity to make impact plays.
Yep.
And the starting secondary now is not doing that. Not this week, at least. Like, Razul and Jair had horrendous weeks. I haven't heard Adrian Amos's name in forever. Darnell
Yeah, he's
Savage
been.
wasn't good tonight. He had that one play, which I don't know if it was entirely his fault, when he went to go stuff the hole for the run and then let up the pass over the top. But they're just not making effort plays, and I think that's who knows, man. I don't know. It's it's a tough week for the defense. They looked
As special teams.
awful. Do you want to get into special teams?
Let's go into it.
What do you got? I got
I
something.
mean,
I'll let you lead.
missed extra point already kind
Blocked.
of blocks. Yeah.
The guy that came through was not even touched. He just walked up and put his hands up.
Um, pretty much giving the Titans a live ball to return. What was I would be curious to their average field goal or field goal.
Field position.
Yeah, field position because it was well in the 20s,
They
probably
got
low 30s.
they got a couple called back because of the penalties, so that's going to adjust that. Or
Yeah,
I can't think of.
skew.
Yeah, it's gonna skew that number. But yeah, that we talked about in the Discord. Uh, little insert while Jordan does research if you're going through it. Join the Discord GSPN.info because as of 11:20 Central Standard Time on November 17th, 2022, the year of our Lord, Twitter is still active, but maybe in 10 minutes it won't be. So get in there and join the Discord so you don't gotta lose all your community with Packers people. So yeah, we talked about it in the Discord, and it was like every drive started at the 30 for some reason. Like, and that's like not even the Titans. That's all teams against us. Mason Crosby. I'm gonna get into this now, Jordan. If I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you, just say something if you
No,
find
go
if you find your
go on.
bit. Uh, I'll start off with saying it's no longer the we fence, it's the Lee fence because they stay holding L's out there. I won't be the only person to say that. Um, Another person that can get going and sunset their career, Mason Crosby. Like, I am thankful for everything Mason Crosby has done in his career as a Packer. Like, he's definitely one of those Packers that probably deserves to have maybe not his number retired because he's still a kicker, but he's the all-time I think Packers leading scorer
Yes, yes.
and has had so many clutch moments for them. I'm not going to blame the block kicked on him. Like, I'm just not going to, but he can't punt it out of it. He can't kick it off out of the end zone anymore. And with how bad our special teams coverage is and just as a unit is in general, why not just put somebody out there who can actually do it rather than just rolling with Mason Crosby? Like, I know Crosby was debating coming back at all this year, but I think I'm ready to find a new kicker that has enough leg because even on his one field goal tonight from like 49 or 45, it looked dead. Like, it didn't have any sort of height in the goalpost when it got there. I think it made the netting, but barely. Like, it didn't just go over the crossbar, but it barely made the netting in the back. So, like, I don't have animosity as I do for Al Lazar and Aaron Rodgers with Mason Crosby, but I think it's just time for the betterment of the team to get a kicker who at least can get it out of the end zone. If that means Pat O'Donnell, sure, but I just think that with how this offense operates and trying to get points where they can, getting a field goal kicker that can kick it confidently from 55, 60 is going to be important going forward.
I have the every field position where they started.
Oh
Are you ready?
God, yeah. If you do, I'll put it in the calculator. I'll get the average out.
Tennessee, 27-yard line. Tennessee, 33-yard line. Tennessee, 39-yard line. Green Bay, 41-yard line. That was uh yeah. Tennessee 9-yard line because of a penalty. Tennessee 37-yard line. Tennessee 37-yard line. Tennessee 13-yard line. Tennessee 38-yard line. Tennessee 44-yard line. So basically, two drives started under 20 yards on their in their own territory.
That's
So they're
so
giving
bad,
them
dude.
an incredibly short field.
Yeah, it's not great.
And
One of those was the bad punt too.
I mean, I don't know. This game, the score was it. I guess it was a 10-point game, but it did not feel like a 10-point game
It didn't.
in a lot of way. In a lot of ways,
It didn't.
and you just see like Tennessee. Just it wasn't just the. I was really impressed by it. I know this probably is more a reflection on how bad the Packers are than it is Tennessee, but didn't realize they were the best red zone team in the uh,
NFL.
NFL.
Yeah.
Helps that you have Derrick Henry, who just is pretty much an automatic scorer. But even some of the things that they were doing to like, I would have thought that because their wide receiver core is fairly limited, let's just say, their quarterback is kind of, I mean, he's a serviceable starting quarterback, but not like the Joe Montana that the Packers turned him in. Um, but I just felt like he made pretty precise throws, which could not be said about Aaron Rodgers. Like they just were very surgical and they made the big plays when it mattered.
Yep.
And you know, as much as we harp on all the things that the Packers did wrong, like that was a complete game that Tennessee did. And I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable. I don't know if it's going to mean anything for playoff success because they're running away with that division because it's the AFC South.
Titans
But
are a Packers team in the AFC that's sustaining it longer than the Packers have.
yes,
They're in the same spot. Like they should be a Super Bowl hopeful. How far their star carries them and Derrick Henry will dictate how well they do.
yeah,
Um, but to talk about like the best red zone team in the NFL right now, they didn't say the stat at the end of the game, but when they kneeled it down to end the game at like the 4 or 5 yard line, Al Michaels said like that was one of the greatest streaks in NFL history to go to end, because I'm guessing the Titans had some sort of absurd like getting touchdowns with goal to goal scenarios,
yeah.
and I'd be curious to know what that number was, but they ended up saying it. I was trying to Google it while you're talking, I couldn't find it. So, but yeah, like it's bad to. It's just a bad week of football. Shouldn't say that. It started really good, really good, and then now it's horrendous.
I mean, at least we had there again. There were some things that are going to give us something to look forward to. Christian Watson,
Yeah,
you know.
I appreciate you being the optimist here.
Well,
Keep
I'm just
going.
I don't think it's optimistic. I think I'm just very
No, it's optimistic.
that is true.
Yeah, it's
Um,
looking at the silver lining.
yeah, but everything is just very in flux because like we're gonna get into these meaty conversations when the season actually ends, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
where does the start of retooling, rebuild? Who's gone? Who stays? Who's I could. It's a much longer podcast than we are willing to record right now
Right.
because it's already late. But it is just like now we have arrived at the place that no one ever saw coming. What, 11 games into the season,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
4-7.
If you told me the Packers are 4-7 with at 11 games into the year, at the beginning of the year, I would have told you that Aaron Rodgers probably got hurt.
Well, he did. He's hurt his thumb. Have
I'm,
you heard?
you know, catastrophically hurt. Not hurt enough to where he can't do thumb wars.
Yeah. Or hitchhike. Um, he might be hitchhiking his way out of here. 1265 Lombardi.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I again, this is just this is where it is. We joked about beyond the bubble, on the bubble. The team ahead of them was the Commanders, who had the tiebreaker, so it was already hard enough for them to
And they
upset
just
that.
beat the fucking Eagles.
Yes,
Like, yeah, they're just outclassed.
your schedule is about to get harder.
It was hard last at the beginning of this game, and then it proved to be hard.
Yeah,
But who could have said that? Who could have projected that after the Lions game that this season would be really hard? Who's to say? I don't know, Jordan. Do you have anything else? Anything else you want
No,
to get off your chest?
I'm living of three life, and we'll soon be rid of these this awful Packers team.
You got a
But we have a
month
few
and a
more
half
weeks to
to
go.
go.
Yeah.
You can't leave me by myself, dude. I can't do this
No,
by
I will not
myself.
leave you by yourself. No man left behind. I was voted captain of this team. Sorry, Jair.
um, all right, folks. Couple of promotions to get into while we wrap up this episode. Check out the Eurostep feed. The Milwaukee Bucks, the best sports team in this state
By far.
by far, absolutely gave it to the Cleveland Cavaliers this week on Wednesday. And as a result, big time Ty Windish went on the Chase Down podcast with Carter Rodriguez and Justin Rowan and did a podcast with them. And that episode is in the Eurostep feed talking about Brook Lopez's fantastic night as he led the way with, I think, 29 points, right, Jordan? Something like that.
Yes. Yes, you did.
So, yeah, really great night from Brook Lopez. Just mind blowing. Then check out the rest of the episodes of the podcasts we got on the network. Make time for this. Cruising for a Bruising is in the middle of grading out their players by position throughout the year.
Oh man.
Listen,
I'm already thinking of grading out this Packers team.
oh man, at least we'll know that we suck at the end of that. We know now, but
Yeah,
we
that
don't
is
have to be
true. That is a very
we
good
don't have to
point.
be so angry at this point. Um, Make time for this. Cruising for Bruising, Win in Six, all the stuff on the Eurostat Podcast Network. We got you covered. So, uh, no Packers game on Sunday, thankfully. So you won't hear from us until probably Wednesday, since we'll probably record earlier in the week for Thanksgiving and such. So, hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. If you're going deer hunting, like yours truly is, be safe. Wear your blaze orange. Have a good hunt if you go out. And Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.